Okay, so now we kind of went over, how to group keywords, how to use this analyze. Let's say we wanted to group each one of these keywords into their own ad group. What a lot of advertisers like to do, or at least they used to like doing this, is they would choose group each keyword into its own ad group, save changes, go to the grouper here, and instead of like analyzing like this, they want every single keyword here to be in its own ad group. So what they do is they say keyword grouper, and they just say generate common themes, and that, when you do that, it's going to generate the amount of keywords that you have in your list. And notice that it matches 2,343 common themes, 2,343 keywords. This process isn't that intuitive. However, this is how you do it. This is how you group each keyword into its own ad group. And before I proceed, I want to show you that you can add different match types as well, because it kind of makes sense when using this feature. We'll say modified broad, and you can add different bid types too. So we'll say broad is 50 cents. We will say modified broad, so 0.65. This is just an illustrative purpose. Phrase 0.70, and then exact, we might say 0.90. So you're bidding higher based on the match type. Okay, save changes. It says match type settings have been changed. Do you want to apply these settings to your current campaign? The reason it says that is because we already have built two ad groups. If we say yes here, it's going to generate those different match types for those keywords in those groups. We're not going to do that. We're going to leave those untouched. Now let's go to grouper, same process, go to keyword grouper, generate common themes. You hit next. It's just going to show one keyword in its own ad group. Then you say finish. This process might take a little while depending on how many keywords you actually have, but then when you're done, each keyword is its own ad group. You can see there's the modified broad right here. There's broad, phrase, and exact with those different bids. Now obviously this is with manual CPC bidding. If you use an automated bid strategy in Google Ads, then these will be irrelevant. Okay, so we have covered how to group each keyword into its own ad group. We've covered word stemming, strict word order, how to output different word frequencies within the grouper tab here. We've talked about the match types, how to do like bids based on a match type. Language here, this language dropdown is for the word stemmer. So it does support different languages other than English. That's what this stem words is tied to. Okay, so this is a campaign URL template. So this is for Google Analytics primarily. These built-ins, these defaults here. Usually you want UTM underscore source equals Google, UTM medium equals CPC, UTM term. That will be a dynamically generated thing if you include it. And we'll probably talk about that later. We're not going to get too far in the weeds about that. This can be anything you want. It's just a URL template that you use to append your URLs with if you do manual tracking, not auto tagging. This tracking ID, we'll also go over that in a little later. We've talked about allowable characters. These are the characters within the keywords that you do want to allow. The group search delay, when you go here and you search, the amount of time it takes for the search to kick in is set by that setting. So if we set like 5 seconds, after we stop typing, it would take 5 seconds before that search actually executed. Like process keyword in URL and keyword level URLs is way advanced. But I will make a video if anyone really wants to know how those work. Okay, and then stop words These are words that appear very frequently. We saw with the word in, but in our case, it was important. And then let me show you a quick feature here. We have all these groups, right? If you go to this Add Groups tab, you want to undo everything we just did. You say, this button here, are you sure you want to undo all the groups in this campaign? You say yes. All of our ad groups are gone. All of our keywords are back here. So then we start analyzing again. We can start over. So it's a quick way to just undo everything you did previously. And the reason I'm telling you that is because if we wanted to use this groups must contain, then we could say the groups must contain like YouTube. We'll say YouTube. Save changes. Now when we get these, when we click analyze here, it will say, it'll only give us suggestions for groups that have the word YouTube in it. So YouTube ads, YouTube ad. And again, if we wanted to combine these into one, we would just say, let's stem the words. Well, I think it'll still give us YouTube ad and YouTube ads. But when we click YouTube ad or ads, they should both be 378 because it's stemming them and they both map back to that root kind of phrase. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. You can use this when you're looking for a really specific group. Save changes. And then lastly, I will say if you just hit enter here, I just hit enter, it says you just hit enter and your search box is currently empty. This will group all of your remaining keywords into one group if you want to proceed. So that's for like when you get to the end and you're like, I have all these keywords, I don't know what to do with them right now. So let's just hit enter and let's just group them all into one and I'll worry about it later. Maybe I'll delete that altogether. I don't know yet. I don't know what I want to do with them. So that's kind of what that feature is. It's kind of, it can be like oh, I accidentally did that, but it's just something to be aware of. You could also use this group button, but I think, like, I'll give you an example of a good one. If I type in, let's see here, we will do non-skippable. Okay, non-skippable. I could hit enter. I just hit enter. I created a group, non-skippable. So you can create groups by typing them in and then hitting enter. The problem with that is you might get something that you didn't want. We'll say ADV. So there's advantages, there's advertise, advertisements, advertising. There could be other words with ADV in them that I didn't want to group and is not like advertising. If I just hit enter, all these keywords will go into one group. So my point is, it can get messy. It could group keywords that you didn't intentionally mean to group if you don't really think it through and look through the list before hitting enter. Okay, so we've covered a lot in this video. That's a pretty exhaustive way of looking at the grouper tab. This stuff here, like edit, you can edit a keyword, add, you can add more keywords that way to this list. So if you already have a list, you can skip this keyword research section altogether. Just come in here, click add. And then remove phrases. If I think whatever is selected, it will remove. Well, I'm not sure. Actually, I think it's like this. See, that's what I mean. It's like kind of confusing. So remove phrases. No, I don't even know. I don't know what that remove phrases button does. And then remove keywords. So if we say remove keywords, make sure I want to delete these. Oh, see, so that removes every single keyword and then you can't undo it. So be careful with that. And then this filter we already saw. So that's it. That's it. That's pretty exhaustive. That's the grouper tab. Okay, I finally remembered what this remove phrases feature does, and it's pretty important and pretty cool. So let's say you had a keyword list with a bunch of cities, states, state abbreviations, countries, provinces, whatever. And you want to strip those off of the keywords just so you can strip them down to their root keyword or root phrase without the geographic intent. That's where this comes in. I'll give you an example of what this does. So in this keyword list, I know I have a word a keyword with cool and a keyword with algorithm. So let's filter that to see them. These two keywords have that. Let's clear the filter there. And what this remove phrases does is it says, look for these words or phrases within the keywords. And if it finds those words or phrases, it removes the phrases. It doesn't remove the keywords themselves. And this is a useful feature. Let's do an example that's like 2 minute. We see also 2 minutes, since that's a 2-word phrase. 2 minute. Okay, so right now I have 420 keywords. Let's filter this. There's actually 2 keywords with 2 minute. So this is going to remove a total of, well, here's how it works. So it'll remove the phrase from the keyword. So YouTube 2-minute ads will become YouTube ads. So it removes the phrase 2 minute. And then it sees if the word or the keyword YouTube ads already exists. If it does, it's going to remove it. So there's always going to be a unique set of keywords in this list, if that makes sense. There's never duplicates in here. So let's see what happens. Let's filter this. Let's clear it. Now let's go ahead and click remove phrases. And let's look for, let's try to filter this again. We don't see them there. That's what we would expect. Let's look for cool. We don't see it. Algorithm. We won't see it. So the big point is we won't see it because it's not there, because those phrases were removed from the keywords, and if those keywords were then duplicates, then it was deduped. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Now I want to show you another feature I didn't cover yet. And before I do, I want to talk about this minimum number of keywords per group setting. So let's set this up to like 10. Okay, save changes. We'll go into the grouper. We say keyword grouper. There's an automatic keyword grouper here. Now I have to warn you, it's not very good and it's not very smart. It's not as smart as the other settings with word stemming and so on. This is still kind of a little bit outdated. And it's mainly geared toward English speaking languages, since English is one language. But it'll say like, if a word ends in S, then it must be plural. So strip the S off. Really basic, simple, stupid algorithm. And so that's why you're going to see some interesting results that are not that great. Another thing is you can see groups here like in. You probably wouldn't want a group of keywords with the word in it. So you can press delete on these. Per and view. So the way it works is it works from top down. So it's going to look for YouTube ads 2019, pull those keywords out. Those are no longer available for the selection. And then it'll look for ads 2019. So this might be interesting. Let's hit next. Notice how ads 2019 was not an option. That's because all the keywords with YouTube ads 2019 basically pulled them out first. So then there was 0 left, and then it goes on from there. And notice how I said the simple stupid algorithm, it's like video ad, not ads. So this was just a design decision to make it singular. Hindsight, not a great decision. But you can change those pretty easily later on. YouTube ad, here's Google, and there's this, Google could be very broad for a group. That would be a pretty terrible group. Campaign here, and then just AdWords, and then YouTube. And then these are everything that's left over. So anything that's left over goes into this group called sort. And that's kind of what you would do with that. Let's just, for the sake of this example, let's just hit finish. So it created those groups. We analyze it. There's nothing to analyze here. These are the remaining keywords. So you could just press enter and let's see what happens. It went into this new ad group here. So if we go over here, we're on this in a tree. We can see them in new ad group. So that's it. I think I covered everything on the grouper tab. Let's move on to the groups tab.